What is up, Nuggets? It's your boy, Killer Pizza, here with a brand new video for you rascals and rapscallions out there. It is day 3 of our Friday the 13th marathon, where I'm going to review a Friday the 13th movie every day of the week, leading up till Friday the 13th, where I will do a ranking of the entire franchise. But with that being said, let's hop right into it. We're going to talk about 1982's Friday the 13th Part 3. Now, this movie is most notably known for obviously being shot in 3D, and is also the one where Jason first gets his iconic hockey mask. But anyways, this movie starts off exactly how Part 2 did, giving a recap of the previous film. And then it leads into a little bit where we get a little more backstory of the night before, because apparently everything on this night takes place on Saturday the 14th, which is also another horror movie, comedy horror movie. But anyways, we got this very pleasant woman who's just bitching out her husband, and we see a lot of these 3D effects that are in the movie. We get these cool, like, aerial effects that are something new to the franchise at this point. And she's watching the news, and it says 8 bodies were massacred. I wanted to include that because if my math is correct, that would mean Paul survived. So hopefully that's that mystery solved, because I really like Paul. Paul was awesome in Part 2. But anyways, we get a couple fun kills in here. The husband gets killed after taking a shit, drinking whiskey on the toilet. He gets stabbed straight through the back, through his stomach, which is pretty nice. And his wife gets a similar fate, but it's like a knitting needle through the back of her neck, through her throat. So we're off to a decent start with the kills. They look cool. It's all gravy here. And then we end up meeting our cast. This is going to be led by our lead, our final girl, Chris Higgins, who's picking up all her friends, and they're going to go up to her family cabin because of, rich people shit. The family little resort. So this is going to be the first movie as well that doesn't take place with a bunch of camp counselors. It's just a bunch of friends going to hang out and take a little vacation. And it's pretty much a lot of the same that we get with a lot of these Friday the 13th movies, just kind of getting to know these characters over the first act and a bit into the second as we start to see some kills and everything. But these characters, I'll say right off the bat, maybe not all as likable at all, really, as they were in Part 2, but they might be more memorable. It seems like we have a trend like that going on, and everything seems to be getting more and more slapstick as this series goes on, like we know and love with a lot of the first 8 Paramount films. As the first one was very serious, the second one had a very serious tone, but got a little more joking, where this one is almost taking some jabs, like parodies into like the horror genre, like where we meet a character very early on, like Shelly. He's like the one that stands out because we've had nothing but like attractive young people in these movies, and this is the first one with this just curly haired joking fat dude who's just kind of, you kind of feel bad for him in a lot of ways, but he's kind of an asshole. He makes this joke, like he comes up with the mask to scare his friend when they're picking up their final friend, saying, "Oh, it's just a joke, don't be an asshole. I'm not an asshole, I'm an actor." Same difference. So I like that tongue-in-cheek shit. And we meet a couple other characters, the bong smokers in the back. We got Cheech and Chong back there, the guy smoking weed, the hippie with his girlfriend. So we got them, Shelly, his date, 2 others, a guy and a girl, and then we have Chris and her eventual ex-boyfriend, I think Rick, that ends up meeting up with them or something when they get up there. So yeah, this is the first time we're not going to deal with camp counselors and everything. They're just going up there to vacation and everything. They make it to this awesome set. Like, not much of a lake at all, which is kind of a bummer, but this house that they built just for the movie is pretty awesome. I really enjoyed that. And like these movies go a lot, it's just in the first act leading into the second, we're just kind of getting to know these characters and getting some kills in between and whatnot. So this kind of just amps up Shelly being a prick is kind of the main part of, like, getting to know these characters, where he finds it funny to play these pranks, and everybody were like, he's like, got an axe in the head and plays dead. He lets out a blood-curdling scream, and, just lots of things where he's getting killed and stuff like that, which you'll find out Chris has, like, trauma from, like, almost getting killed in this area, which I don't know why you would go back up to this vacation home if you had history like that, but I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, Shelly is kind of a prick, man, but he's got the hots for this girl who doesn't really care for him, that's supposed to be her date. This is kind of a weird part of the movie that's so different than what we've seen so far. They go up to, get supplies at the store, and they run into this biker gang, 2 guys and a girl, where they're kind of giving them a hard time. They make it out of there, but Shelly backs up into the motorcycles by mistake, gets into a scuffle where the dude busts out his windshield, and he ends up showing like a moment of guts where he's just like, "Fuck this, I ain't putting up with it," and runs over the dude's motorcycle so they can't get followed and everything. I love that when they make it back, they borrowed the guy Rick's car, and he's like, he's like, what the hell happened? And they just, the two of them just brush it off like, shit went down. It's like, wouldn't you like, I like how I question the stupid shit in horror movies. Like, wouldn't you just question them right there? Like, wait a second, why the hell did you bust out my windows and everything like that? Or what the fuck happened, man? You're paying for that. But anyways, we move on with the story where we get like a flashback where Rick's kind of questioning Chris, like, what's wrong? You've been so distant from me. And she says like, oh, some time ago I was up here in this exact same location, which I decided to come back to, where I was arguing with my parents, and then some deformed man attacked me in the woods, and he dragged me around, and next thing I know, I blacked out, and I don't remember anything. And rewatching this, I'm thinking, wait a second, did Jason rape this girl? Because that's kind of what they were implying, and it kind of makes things add up. Like, if you remember, the hot chick who died in part 2, they never showed her get killed, and when they show her body, like, with all these other corpses laying around the head of Mrs. Voorhees, she doesn't look like she's killed or anything, maybe knocked out. That's my weird theory. Was he about to rape that girl too, if that's what he did, if they're implying he was the best looking girl in the camp? So it's just kind of weird, like, to revisit these and think of, like, Jason as that, because a lot of people think of him, I do too, kind of similar to Leatherface, where they kind of don't, they're kind of like damaged goods, and they only kind of attack when their area, their property, their home is being invaded, unlike maybe Freddy or Michael Myers, who are just pure evil in that sense. So that's my thought. I don't really know what to make of that. It definitely was a weird foil to this movie, rewatching it. But anyways, everyone's splitting up. Everybody's hooking up like they tend to do. And we get a point where Shelley kind of shoots a shot at the girl he's with. She's not into him, so she goes outside on the dock, and he does another prank where he like grabs her leg and goes to pull at it and hops out with the iconic hockey mask out, telling her, you know, a pretty lady like you shouldn't go alone in the dark. And it's like, you are an asshole, Shelley. Like, you just got, this guy just didn't get it. Like, that's not how you do it in anything. But anyways, fun fact, the iconic hockey mask was created from the Detroit Red Wings, the hockey masks I used to wear back in the day. You know, let's go Red Wings, all that fun jazz. But anyways, Shelley wanders off. You hear something in this barn, which I completely skipped over, these bikers coming back to get revenge. They're going to light this barn on fire. There's not much to say with that. They go in there one by one. First the girl, and she gets killed off screen. The second guy comes in and sees the kill, which is pretty cool. Our feet are hanging off the ground and everything. He gets killed. And I love this kill with this guy. Like, he's got a cigarette in his mouth, and when it cuts back, like, the blood is going down, filling the cigarette. That's just kind of fun. And then when the third biker comes in, they get in a brawl. Looks like he gets killed. But anyways, that happened a bit after. You know, this is in the daytime, but moving forward. Sorry for skipping around, you guys. A bit tired doing these reviews so far, so wish me luck. But anyways, yeah, Jason ends up killing Shelley in the barn, and he comes back out with the hockey mask. And this is one of my favorite Jasons right here, Richard Brecker. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, the full name. But this is a big-ass Jason, way bigger and stockier compared to Sackhead Jason. And the girl sees him coming out, and another 3D effect. Kind of corny. He takes, like, the spear gun, like, shoots it straight at her through her eye. The prosthetics looked really cool, the way she went down and everything. But kind of a weird kill for me. He kind of just walks off, and then the killing continues here. He's taking everyone out one by one. I think these are some of the funnest kills. This is really where Jason, you know, it kind of shows more and leans into like how Sackhead Jason was so different, because this is where we get the Jason that we have come to love, with, you know, very powerful kills and everything really original. The most original kills of the series, you know, not my favorite, but like throwing the hippie into the electrical box, but that's the first time we see that. One of my very favorite kills is the dude, there's this guy that's doing handstands the entire time to like impress this girl, and she's in the shower, and then Jason just comes down, and they have this awesome shot where it's like from below, and he looks up, so you get a shot of Jason last second, which is cool, and just it looks like impactful as hell, and just takes his whole body. You could tell nowadays that it's rubber, but it's brutal. The way he chops him from the crotch straight down from his chest. And then his girl ends up coming back into the room, grabs a Fangoria magazine, starts reading, blood's dripping down. And this is kind of a shot that, like, I forgot about so much until I rewatched it. When she looks up, his body's completely ripped in half, and you can see his organs and everything up top. That's fucking wild shit. She ends up getting killed, I believe, a knife straight through the bottom, through her chest or something. So that's 3 movies in a row where we get a callback, you know, where, you know, Kevin Bacon got the spear through the throat. Then the second one, the couple got the spear through them downward, and then this one we get a knife back up. So kind of cool to have the same thing 3 times in a row like that. So that's pretty much everybody gets smoked until the stoner's girlfriend, no pun intended, but that would be a good one. She gets killed off. And then we get our 2 coming back. The lead, Chris, and her boyfriend, Rick. They make it back to the house, and they know something's wrong. People have been getting killed and all that. I can't even remember off the top of my head if she discovered all the bodies or whatnot. I'm trying to think how she first sees Jason. Oh, yeah. They're looking through the house. Forgive me, guys. I watched this last night. It's like 9 o'clock when I'm recording this right now. But really cool kill. I love this where it's a cool shot, too. She's calling out for her boyfriend. Like, there's like the corner of the house. And all in one shot, she's right here and he's right around the corner. And Jason has got him, and this is the first time we see him this big and strong. He's picking him up by his head off the ground, and he smashes his head, and his eyes bulge out, and it's a little hokey, but that's just some brutal shit right there. And all the times we had bodies getting thrown through these windows and stuff, this is the one time I believe that Jason could gorilla press slam a motherfucker and just throw him straight through this window. And this is such a cool shot when Chris looks back and we see Jason with the mask just walking in, and he comes after her right now, and we get the classic cat and mouse chase. But this is one of my favorites right here. I mean, let alone between Jenny and Chris, those are probably my 2 favorite final girls. I might pull for Jenny a little more, but I absolutely adore Chris. Ever since I watched this as a kid, I just thought she was so good looking and everything. You know, hey, I'm a guy. Don't blame me for that shit, you know. And she gets in this chase, and I love her acting where Jenny was a little more intense with it, you know. But the facial expressions I really like on Chris during this cat and mouse. And this is a lot of fun because it's like, it amps up the ante from the chase scene in the second one, or the first for that matter, where around every corner, she's kind of countering him. She runs up the stairs. He's coming after her, dumps the bookcase on him. She goes and runs, starts discovering some dead bodies of her friends. She hides in the closet. And I love the scene where she pulls the knife out of her friend to defend herself. Because that's like realistic. Like, who would want to do that? Like, the sound of it pulling out. She's like, fuck, you know. Jason comes in, cool effect where he busts down the door. She puts the knife straight through his hand. It looks brutal. She comes out, and I love this scene where he's kind of backing up, reminiscent of the chainsaw. And she's swinging the knife, boom, boom. And I love, excuse me, the shot of Chris's face, the look on her face as she's going for him. She gives him a shot in the thigh, so he's taking a blade in the hand, a blade in the thigh, but this isn't stopping Super Jason here. He's keep coming after her. They go outside. I love that she hides behind the door. He comes out, hits him with a big-ass log, takes off. Like I said, it's just realistically, you know, because, you know, a lot of you guys know I'm an indie wrestler, I'm a pro wrestler, and it's like sometimes if a small guy's got to wrestle a big guy, there's ways to kind of chop the tree down in a way. So I can find realism that the small girl is taking down this giant Jason Voorhees because, you know, hit him in the back with a giant fucking log, stab him in the hand, the thigh. I don't care how big you are. That's going to work. Or shoving a bookcase on you. She makes it to the van, tries to escape. He's after her some more. He's just nonstop right here until they make it to this barn. And the same barn we've been dealing with this whole time. She's running from him. One of the bikers turns out he's not, or, oh, this ain't the, they make it up to the top, and like she covers the hole with a bale of hay. He fights through. She's hiding around the corner with a shovel. She waits for a chance. Boom, hits him with it. Just, I can't get enough of this final chase and everything till the point she fucking wraps his head around a noose of like the thing you would use to bale the hay up to the attic, hangs his ass down, goes back downstairs. She's shook as hell, opens up the door. We get this iconic look of Jason just hanging there. And I love that shot. And he rips himself off and lifts the mask up and shows it's the face, the same guy that attacked her, which I don't know how she wouldn't recognize that. He's wearing the same exact outfit that he was in the flashback and the same exact size. Who's that big with the bald head and shit? But she's terrified. One of the bikers pops up that he thought was dead. One of the most underrated parts in this movie, Jason just hacks his arm off with a machete. Fucking vicious. Then ground and pounds him with the machete. They don't show it, but sometimes what you don't see is more violent. And yeah, she comes back with the axe, takes him right in the head, and to show the mask again, that is where we get the iconic cut in the mask that he keeps for the rest of the franchise, and he's down and out for the count. She goes out on a canoe, goes to take off, laying it, you know, just exhausted or whatever, in a very crappy looking man-made lake compared to the last two. This is kind of a shot similar to the first one. And she looks up and sees Jason, which this is like a horrifying scene, but it's also very like funny to me. She looks up and he's bleeding from the head and he's got his mask completely off and he looks crazy with the mask on. He's just looking, but he's got like almost a big smile on his face. And once again, I'll say this is something people that might have watched the later ones don't remember how crazy Jason was in these earlier ones where he comes out a dead sprint straight towards the boat. That is terrifying. And we get a shot of Mrs. Voorhees' dead body decomposed, jumping up and pulling her under the water. Reminiscence of the first movie when Jason did it. Same when Jason burst through the window in the second. So we have the ongoing thread of that kind of shock ending. And it's kind of a cop-out because it's kind of the same thing of maybe it was a dream. But I like this ending a little more than part 2, the way it went down. I just thought Mrs. Voorhees coming out of the water looked really cool. And my favorite part about this final deal with her, I mean, she's not getting stretchered out like in part 2, but she does such a good job of acting because they're saying it was just a dream and they're walking out the cops to put her in the cop car to take her to the hospital, I would assume. And Chris's acting, she just looks shooken up and like insane. I look back at like Sally from Texas Chainsaw Massacre with that like losing your mind laughter. It's like that might be how it would fucking be. Like you how would you ever recover from something like this? So I liked her acting right there. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, maybe my final girl. It's between Jenny and Chris, but I absolutely loved this movie. It was so much fun. Maybe not as fun with the characters as it was in part 2, but the kills were a lot more creative, I would say, arguably, and we get the Jason we've come to love here, and the final chase is absolutely amazing in this movie. Not much I don't like about this one. I would say since it was shot in 3D, it is a little blurry. It looks like on the Blu-ray, and it does kind of hurt your eyes a little bit at some points, and I do think like the biker scene was like a little weird to add in, but it's fun. It's a little different. You know, I don't think it was needed, but pick up the body count, I guess. And I don't really like the set where they're not at an actual lake or on the East Coast. They shot this in California, but the house, the Higgins house that they shot this in, is absolutely amazing. So I can't really complain here. And honestly, that final chase is one of my favorites in any horror movie. So that just gives it extra brownie points at the end of the day. But yeah, this one was a lot of fun. I loved it. So yeah, hopefully you guys like this too. Like I said, leave a comment down below what your favorite Friday the 13th movie is. Tag me on Instagram, Killer Pizza Video. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. Other than that, I will see you guys tomorrow for Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter. Other than that, Blood Guts Gore. Check you guys next time.